We will begin the microscopic tissue labs by first discussing epithelial tissue. Today we will discuss simple epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue is made up of cells called epithelial cells. Epithelial tissue is classified by the shape of the surface cells and whether it is single-layered or multi-layered. It is considered simple if it only has a single layer of cells. Therefore, all the tissues we will discuss today have a single layer of cells. This boundary between the cells and the connective tissue is called the basement membrane. It is what anchors the cells and keeps them from pulling apart. For a tissue to be considered simple, all the cells must be in contact with the basement membrane. Hence, it is considered a single layer. There are four main types of simple epithelial tissues, shown here. The first is simple squamous epithelium. It is a single layer of flat cells. The next epithelial tissue is simple cuboidal epithelium. It is a single layer of cube-shaped cells. The next is simple columnar epithelium. It is a single layer of tall, narrow cells. Notice they have finger-like projections on their surface, as well as these special yellowish mucus-producing cells called goblet cells. The last and final is the pseudostratified columnar epithelium. It looks as if it is multilayered, but notice that every cell is in contact with the basement membrane. Therefore, it is considered a single layer, even though not all the cells reach the surface. Let's talk about each one in a little more detail now, starting first with the simple squamous epithelium. Simple squamous epithelium is a single layer of thin cells, shaped like fried eggs, with a bulge where the nucleus is located. The top right picture is looking at the cells from above, and the bottom right picture is looking at them from the side. The example that I will provide for you is from the side, similar to the bottom picture. Just a reminder that this is the basement membrane. All of the yellow cells on top are anchored to the basement membrane. One such cell is highlighted in green. And notice that all the cells are flat with a bulging nucleus. This is a cross-section of a bile duct which contains many blood vessels within the surrounding connective tissue. We are going to zoom in on a blood vessel here to the right. Here is our blood vessel. Blood vessels are lined with a simple squamous epithelium. This layer is our single layer of simple squamous cells. The arrows are pointing to the nuclei of a few of the simple squamous cells. Don't be confused by this other tissue surrounding the vessel. This is smooth muscle. Smooth muscle is a tissue we will look at later. In blood vessels, simple squamous cells are given a special name called the endothelium. The only part of these cells that can be seen are their flattened nuclei, which the arrows are pointing to. Here is a digital depiction of an endothelium. You can see the single layer of cells surrounded by multiple layers of smooth muscle. The green highlighted cells are the simple squamous cells, and the blue arrow is pointing to the multiple layers of smooth muscle. Tissue number 2 is going to be simple cuboidal epithelium. It is a single layer of squarish, round cells with essentially placed nuclei. This tissue sample is from a kidney section. We are going to zoom in to find some simple cuboidal epithelia. Here in the kidney, this structure is called a glomerular capsule. Surrounding the glomerular capsules are glands of various sizes and shapes made of simple cuboidal epithelium. I have highlighted a few of the basement membranes of the simple cuboidal epithelium here. These are called kidney tubules. Tubules are basically tubes. Some of the tubules are more round while others are elongated. That just means that the more round ones were cut in cross-section while the elongated ones were cut in a longitudinal section. Like this. The top example is showing a longitudinal cut, whereas the bottom is showing a cross-sectional cut. Third on our list is simple columnar epithelium. It is composed of a single layer of tall, narrow cells with oval-shaped nuclei, usually in the lower half. Not always, but quite often, it will contain goblet cells. Goblet cells are so named because they are goblet-shaped. They secrete mucus, which is then used for various purposes. These cells also contain a brush border, which are the finger-like projections on the surface. These are tightly packed microvilli, which increase the cell's surface area. This example comes from a small intestine. The surface area of the small intestine is increased by these finger-like projections called villi. A few examples have been highlighted here in green. I like this tissue example because you can see the many goblet cells scattered throughout the tissue. A few of them have been highlighted here. Also take note that we have a single layer of columnar cells. A few of them have been highlighted here. Here is an example of simple columnar epithelial cells under the scanning electron microscope. The goblet cells are the dark green, enlarged with mucus, which is stained pink, highlighted here. Here is a generated image of simple columnar epithelium inside the wall of the intestines. The last tissue example on our list is the pseudostratified columnar epithelium. It is composed of narrow cells that look multi-layered, but is actually a single layer. This is because every cell is in contact with the basement membrane, even if not every cell reaches the surface. Most often, this tissue has goblet cells, and it's often ciliated as well. Cilia are thin hairs that move substances along the tissue. The luminal surface of the trachea is lined with a pseudostratified columnar epithelium. The luminal surface is located up here. The trachea has many other types of tissues as well, including cartilage, located here. We will learn about that later. For now, we are sticking with the surface layer of cells. In this view, we can see the surface of the cells with cilia. I don't see any goblet cells particularly in this section, but you can pretty easily see the pseudostratified cells. A few of them have been highlighted here. The lumen is the opening of the organ, and on the opposite side of the lumen is the basement membrane. All of the cells are attached to the basement membrane.